Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Wednesday, June the 3rd, and welcome to our commentary. Well, I have a post over at the American Thinker today, Wednesday morning, talking about this situation for the Democrats up in Maine, where they have a candidate who, I guess the primary is next week, but they have a candidate running for the U.S. Senate who is quite a problem. The guy has had a lot of personal issues. And again, I mean, I'm not talking about, cheating on his wife and those kinds of problems. Those are not those are not the problems I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, he's apparently going into websites with minors and, he's just doing a lot of crazy things. Normally you would think somebody like that would not survive a primary, but apparently he's going to be nominated by the Democrats because the alternative is this lady governor who hasn't excited anybody. Peggy Mills, I think, is her name, and they're going to go with him. He just came to Washington, and apparently he got the endorsement of quite a few Democrats, including Chuck Schumer and some of the others. I mean, I think this guy's an embarrassment. Put politics aside, this guy's an embarrassment, and he shouldn't be under any circumstances in the U.S. Senate. Now, the good news is that he's running against Susan Collins, who has won, I don't know, like 30 years of elections in Maine. And, she must feel very lucky because he is going to end up sending her back to Washington. I mean, this guy is just a mess. And, I don't know what to say. I mean, how do these guys get nominated? How do they get this far? Now, I have a theory. And that is that in the Democratic Party today, all you have to do is attack Donald Trump or call Donald Trump names, and somehow you're going to have a following. They're going to like you. If you call Donald Trump names or you say things about Trump or whatever, that's all you need. That's all you need to get in the House, as they say. And you saw some of this in this appearance before the House and the Senate by Secretary Rubio, where he's there to talk about foreign policy. And you've got these Democrats coming up with some of the craziest things just to upset Rubio or just to take a cheap shot at President Trump. And, at one point, one Democrat was talking about his shoes. Apparently, Donald Trump gave him some shoes or something. What does that have to do with foreign policy? Then, in another situation, you had a Democrat bringing up this thing about Rubio being at a party. No, I mean, he denied being at the party, and he has the receipts to prove it. But this is, again, what's happening in the Democrat Party. If you're a Democrat today, you have to do outrageous things like that, or otherwise you're going to get a primary. And that's what's happening. And I think this fellow up in Maine, Patner, I think, or Flatner, or Plattner, or whatever his name is a good example of that. This is a guy who basically ran making a lot of outrageous claims. And, if you're a Democrat, that's what it takes to advance today. But I think if he makes it to the general election, and there are some doubts about that, but if he makes it to the general election, I don't think he's going to win. I think Susan Collins is going to win that election. And this guy will forever be one huge electoral mistake that the Democrats made in 2024. But the man is an embarrassment. I mean, all you have to do is catch up with the story. I mean, there's all kinds of things that this guy did that would not be acceptable. I guarantee you, there's no Republican who would survive what this guy has done. First of all, the media would be all over him, but I think the Republicans have enough self-dignity to look at this guy and say, "No, you got to drop out. You got to drop out." So, I don't know. I think it's just amazing what's happened with our politics that we have people like this running for office. And I tell you, I'll repeat it. I think a lot of it is just Trump derangement syndrome that has literally taken some of these people to a place that is just incredibly stupid. And they're saying and doing a lot of crazy and stupid things. Well, I guess the other big story today is what happened in California Tuesday night, the elections or the primaries. And they have it's sort of an unusual way of doing it in California. Instead of having a Democrat primary and a Republican primary, what they do is they put everybody in the same ballot, and then the top two go on to face each other in the general election. Now, when the Democrats did that, they did it a few years ago with the idea that they were going to eliminate Republican competition, which I think they've been able to do in some elections. But this time around, you had really two good Republican candidates, one for governor. Actually, there's two for governor. One for governor who made it, and the other one is the guy in LA, Pratt, who looks like he's going to make it. I should caution everybody that even though they're leading right now, even though they're leading with 50 or 60% of the vote counted or whatever, it could change because of the way they count ballots out there. I mean, they may be counting ballots for 2 weeks out there, which is how crazy their electoral system is. I mean, I'm all in favor of the states running elections, okay? So every state can do whatever they want. But I think having, ballots counted 2 weeks later is not exactly the best way to promote democracy. I think that, you look at Colombia, they just had an election and everybody knew, the votes, 80%, 90% of the votes were counted by 8 o'clock at night. Other states have done things like that here in the United States. I mean, in Texas, we know by 9 o'clock, 85% of the votes counted. We can actually declare a winner by 8:30, 9 o'clock, or at least a projected winner. But out there, we don't know. So that's why even though Pratt is strong number two in LA, and Hilton is a strong number one for governor, there are still enough votes outstanding that there could be a surprise. And I've even seen somebody calculate that even the number 3 guy, Steyer, could actually go up into the top 2 and bring down Hilton. So I am not ready to say that Hilton is going to be in the final 2 or that Pratt is going to be in the final two, although it does look more likely that Pratt will be. Hilton, I think we got to get more votes counted before we can say that. But I think the success of these two candidates, whether it's Hilton or Pratt, I think their success is that they got away from the political dialogue, and instead of simply talking about Republicans or Democrats or left and right, what they did, I mean, in the case of Pratt, was to go out and say, this is LA. This is what LA looks like. Look at it. You can see it for yourself. Look at the streets. Look at the parks. Look at the garbage. Look at the way this city looks. And I thought those were very effective commercials that he ran. And Hilton did something similar. He simply said, look, is this the way you want things to be? And I think they took it out of the Republican-Democrat conversation or left or right ideology and made it more into a common sense campaign. I mean, I don't know how anybody wants to see streets full of garbage or, for example, MacArthur Park, the beautiful park there in LA, which has now become, you can't walk through MacArthur Park anymore because you've got drug addicts on the sidewalks and in the park. And, that was a park that for years people would walk at lunchtime and, mothers would take their kids to see the ducks, that kind of thing. That you can't do that anymore in MacArthur Park. The place is very dangerous. And so I thought Pratt, in the way that he ran the campaign and the ads that he put together, which is fabulous, and Hilton in focusing about everything that has gone wrong with California, especially people leaving the state. They've lost 4 million people I think since 2020. I mean, that's an unbelievable number of people. And most of the people they're losing in California are taxpayers. They're not losing people who don't contribute. On the contrary, they're losing people who contribute to the economy of the state. So I thought both of them ran great campaigns. We'll have to wait again to make sure the results are where they are right now. I think Pratt is probably in. He'll run against this lady Bass. I'm not sure about the governor's race yet. I still there's still some chance that once they start counting ballots, that those margins will reduce, and two Democrats end up as one and number two. I know you don't want to hear that, but I think that's a possibility for governor. I do think for mayor, it looks pretty likely because the margin is pretty big that Pratt will run against this lady, Mayor Bass, or Bass, I think is how you pronounce it. Well, a couple of things on this day in history. 1941, Joe DiMaggio made it to number 20 on his way to number 50, to 56 consecutive games. And for the next 6 weeks between now and July the 5th, when the streak ended, I mean, it was the number one sports story in the country. I mean, people all throughout the country would literally wake up in the morning and run to the sports page and see what DiMaggio had done the night before. It became a national story like few stories have ever been before. DiMaggio, going slowly forward to 56, where he finally ended up. I mean, still one of the most amazing sports streaks in the history of any sport. And then on this day in 1942, and we have a really interesting post about this on my blog today, the conversation that we had with Barry Jacobson a few years ago about the Battle of Midway in the Pacific on this day in 1942, a very important battle during that war. So check out my blog. I'm going to try to put it up on Twitter as well, or X as well, later today. And remember DiMaggio, number 20. And good luck to the Republicans in California. I hope they can pull it out. I think the state of California could use a little change, to say the least. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas.